Abington Conservation Commission meeting. We're going to start off with old business, SE 084-0555, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by Jim Lambert, WP East Acquisitions LLC, located at 0 Summer Street.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Hayes, wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting. I guess the peer reviewer was only given the plan this afternoon. We had sent it to you earlier last week. He has not had a chance to look at it. He's also said to me that you have additional questions that you would like to talk about, so I guess we need to continue this hearing.
Any questions? Have a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing for SE 084-0555 to the next meeting, which I think is on September 13th.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Okay.
Okay. Enforcement order, discussion on restoration plan located at 0 Hancock Street.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Hayes, wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting. I have given you the report on the proposed wetland replication areas for that enforcement order. I did receive a few questions that I can go over, and I can also go over the methodology of how we're going to replicate those areas as well. First of all, I guess I'll go over just like a brief summary of the report, if that's okay. So with the two areas, we're going to start with the furthest area in the back first and work our way from the back to the front. And we will go to the back area and we will remove all the trees and roots and the fill with an excavator as far as we can from the wetland, or a mini excavator that we have talked about. And all that material will be placed outside the 100-foot jurisdictional area or trucked off site. And if either way, if one or the other is more appealing to you, we can accommodate that. We will excavate down to the black native soil. And we are aware that we need at least 6 inches of this dark organic soil before we do any planting or seeding. If we do not have 6 inches of this dark, rich, native organic soil, we will bring some in. The final elevation shall be the elevation of the adjacent wetland areas, and we will bring in similar native species that are located within the impact areas, such as tupelo and red maple trees, and alders, high bush blueberry, and sweet pepper bush shrubs. And we will also be seeding with an emergent seed mix. We've used DEP's wetland replication guidelines, where the shrubs will be 8 to 10 feet on center and trees will be 10 to 15 feet on center. We propose spring and fall monitoring for 2 years, in which each spring and fall we will provide a report to the commission with pictures, and if there's any problems, we will recommend either more plantings, or if there's an issue, we'll try to address it right away, and that's why we're doing two inspections a year. So with that, we will do the outer impact area first, and then do the second impact area. I know that there are also 2 other smaller areas that we addressed during one of the site visits. we will also delineate those areas out. I can use a Dutch auger, which was suggested, to do that delineation. However, like we talked about at the DEP site walk, I think it's best that we get the first two big impact areas resolved first, and we work our way out. Also, there was a question whether or not we should do the 100-foot buffer zone, replanting, or, bringing back the 100-foot buffer zone that was impacted. And according to your bylaw, you do have information on that in your bylaw. So yes, we agree that we would need to do the 100-foot buffer zone restoration. And in that instance, along with the two impact areas, we're going to be working from the back to the front. So with the first impact area furthest away, we will do that first. And then as we move forward, the roadway that was created, we will bring in topsoil and we will seed that area. And as we move outward, we will do the impact areas and the 100-foot buffer zone areas to reestablish those areas. I do know that the areas 3 and 4, which are closest to the house, we do still need to, I need to figure out where the wetland line should be after it was impacted, and I will delineate that. I don't think I want to remove all the fill out of that area until we are ready, because I feel if I start uncovering all the fill, and I just don't want to impact more. So that's why I want to work from the back out. So that's that. There were a couple other questions that I received. I did touch upon the areas 3 and 4, and yes, I can use a Dutch auger to determine where those areas are. I don't have to have a big instrument, a big machine in there to remove the fill right away. The two streams on or near the property should be shown on the plan. Yes, and I did bring the USGS map of the site, and I can pass that around. There is a river that comes off of Cleveland Pond, and that is off-site. This dark blue line here, that's a perennial river. There's an intermittent stream that is closer to the site. I think that's the one that we were looking at the site walks. So that is intermittent, and that is far within the delineated wetland resource area. So because we're not going to be doing anything further in the wetlands, I don't think we need to really flag out and survey the intermittent stream channel. However, the riverfront will extend a little bit onto the back of the parcel, and we'll have survey pick that up and put that on the plan. So that takes care of that question. One of the questions was, were the updated flag locations from the site walk with Andrew? And the answer is yes. The plan that was last given to you with all the proposed plantings, those have the updated plans from DEP, the updated flags from DEP. I talked about restoring the 100-foot buffer zone. The plantings, whether we get the plantings installed this fall or next spring, really has to do with whether we get the land surveyed and all those flags surveyed. He has contracted a surveyor. The surveyor is called Gilliason Corp. with Real Map LLC. They have signed contracts. It's at least 3 weeks out for Jillian Corp. And once we get that plan, we can move forward. I can start setting up excavation. And also another question was that the excavator be a professional excavator. And yes, the client has been in conversation with Tyler King Excavation, and they will be doing the work. So we're putting that, we're trying to get all the pieces to come together and do this as proficient as we can. Another question was the plantings follow the existing tree lines? And yes, we are proposing to plant trees along each edge of the wetland impact areas, just like what is out there in the field right now, with shrubs interior of those trees, and then seeding with an emergent wetland seed mix, since there's so much water typically in that area. I think those are the questions that were raised. There was a few questions about, I did mention in the overall history summary about a agent. I misspoke. It was actually really a staff member, and that staff member was Tony Moquin. So I can update those for you. So that's really where we are as of today. We're still putting the pieces together. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
So I have a question. Let's say the surveyor comes in, they're done at the end of September, it was all done on his property. How fast could you get the plantings done? Or do you think?
Well, if
you go
we
that 15
can,
days?
I mean, we might be able to be on track for fall planting. And fall planting is a very good time. Either you want to plant in the fall or you want to plant in the spring. We don't want to plant outside the growing season. If we can get everything to actually come together like we're wanting to, we will plant this fall.
Okay.
And that's why we've been in contact with the surveyors and the engineers and the excavation company and everybody that we can be.
Okay. Thank you.
I had just a couple of questions. Could you put the 200-foot and 100-foot riverfront protection area
Yep.
on the map, and also the 100-foot buffer zone, so that we have an idea whether there's room for you to stockpile on site, or whether you're going to have to take it off site? That we want to try to work with you, but we want to make sure that you're outside the zones.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
since
we
we're-
can totally do that, especially
Yeah.
once we have all that's been really surveyed in.
I think it would be helpful for
Yep,
us.
that's not a problem at all.
And I think really, question number 7 about the experienced excavator, we wanted to make sure, I don't think you phrased it quite right, but we wanted to make sure that somebody was overseeing the work that understood that they needed to follow the wetland, what we're doing here, that they're being careful, and, whether you have somebody from your
I
shop
will-
overseeing
I
it,
will be there.
Then that's great.
That's
that will be awesome.
That's
That's
definite
exactly-
protocol. A wetland scientist during excavation of impact and material needs to be there to check the hydrology, to check the soil profiles, to know how far to go down, to know the elevation. Yes, I will be there.
That will be excellent. Thank you.
Will you also be there when they're doing the excavation in the first critical area there, when they're removing all that stuff to start the restoration and all that?
I will be there.
You'll be there?
Yes.
Start to finish with the
Yes.
excavator?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And I think I might have not, I missed it, but I think we still have some siltation socks to put in.
We do.
So
We
you're
do.
going to do that, you'll do that before with the equipment, because you need the equipment to put it in, correct?
And which sections do we still need?
The critical area 1, the furthest one out, where the 2 silt fences are now, that's supposed to be stabilized with the assistance of the excavator.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna put in the additional silt socks.
Is there a plan to remove those as well after everything's established, or those are composite?
So we're talking about the 18-inch again, the 18 inch?
If that's what you guys decide to use, you have the two options of the 12 and the silt sock or the 18 inch.
Yeah. I might want to think about that a little more. I mean, because I know the 18 inch is not as biodegradable friendly, I guess, as the 12. And, I mean, we can since we haven't touched those pallets, we can always bring them back.
Sure.
Yeah, let me think about that.
Okay. And did you anticipate having to add any stabilization if you start exporting the material? Any additional coming out in the two newly discovered areas? Those would probably have to be protected as well.
Yeah.
So we'd probably want to see that on a plan, if that's the option you decide to do.
Yeah, with the area 3 and 4, closest to the house, I know I can do the boring inside the roadway, like the DEP agent had done. The area number 4, which is really like a pile of rocks, if you remember.
Yep,
I don't think I'll be able to do that with.
okay.
So that will have to be excavated with either a mini excavator or something. And because of that instance, I think the best way to handle that would to be do it all at once. So have the whole day, find out where the wetland line is, delineate it, have the seed mix, have the plants on hand, and just do it, and then like put the erosion control in.
Now, are you gonna put any protection when you're working your way from the furthest point out, like areas 1 and 2? Will you have any stabilization up by areas 3 and 4? Because you're gonna have equipment and trucks running through there.
There is erosion controls near areas 3 and 4.
It doesn't envelope all of it, though,
It
does
doesn't envelope all of it, but those areas have already been impacted with 10, 12 inches of fill. So it's not like those areas are gonna get impacted more.
Trucking and excavating could absolutely impact those more, 100%.
Okay, how would we, so what would your wishes be? That I determine the wetland line in the roadway and then do erosion control there and then have the machinery go around as much as possible?
Well, I
from
thought
the
your plan,
road?
I thought your plan was to leave 3 and 4 alone for now, focus on 1 and 2 and
That's
work your way out.
correct.
You have to cross 3 and 4 and impact those areas further to get to 1 and 2.
That's correct.
With no stabilization right now. Similar to how we put 50-foot silt fences down in area 1 to give it some stabilization, you're gonna be bringing heavy equipment and trucking in there, you need to have something. Whether you delineate it first and then put it outside that, to your flagging, or if you make it wide enough for a truck road.
Well, if you remember, as you walk down into the site, that whole area there has been, has a siltation fence and sock.
So areas 3 and 4 are enveloped? Because you're gonna have to drive through them to get to 1 and 2.
The areas that have not been impacted associated with areas 3 and 4 are enveloped with erosion controls. The areas that have been impacted are still impacted, will be continued to be impacted, and that's why I want to wait and work my way outward to get those areas at the end.
I understand what you're saying, but you're still gonna cause impact in 3 and 4 to get to 1 and 2. So there's no real plan to stabilize 3 and 4 until you delineate it. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm not comfortable with excavators and trucks going through there without something, to be honest with you. We just had 2.5 inches of rain in 2 days. I do it for a living, I know what it does.
Sounds like she's willing to do, and it's doable, using the Otter to do area 3, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So you could do area 3 at
Mhm.
minimum, and you could perhaps attempt area 4, but I
Yeah.
understand there's boulders there.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
maybe someone,
Yeah, I
it
could,
might not work, but you could try, but at least if you can delineate 3, that would help.
Right.
Because 3 is, I'm not quite sure where they're located yet, but.
3 is coming right up.
Yes, and 4 is the rock one.
It's the first one with
So
the outfall.
Yes.
They're probably not gonna drive on 4 anyway, if it's got all those rocks, right?
No,
No.
they have to.
To the side.
Yeah, they have to.
No, we're not driving on 4. Let me,
But maybe if she delineated, we see that.
so this is the old, this is the plan. So, so area 3 and 4 are right about approximately where those 2 circles are. So which one's first? 3 or 4? 3 and 4. So they're in the road, they're in the impacted roadway right now. The only thing that's gonna happen, because I have a silt fence that goes all the way around like this, there's a silt fence that goes around the wetlands, and we're thinking that there might be more wetlands that was impacted and has now been filled by the roadway. But those 2 areas are not going to be majorly impacted by the machinery coming. And what I can do is I can ask the machine operator to stick as close as possible to the furthest edge. Because what I do understand that there might be some impact that happens to these 2 areas, but it's going to be compaction.
And that was one of the things that Andrew brought up. The less impact to that area, the better he would feel about it. So this is the recommendation he made to us. So that's why I have tendency, I'm with Tim on that, because to impact this every single day, you're bringing that equipment back and forth and back and forth. It's just going to keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing
Okay,
it.
yes, I do understand. However, it's only when we bring the machine through this roadway. On day 1, we're gonna bring out all this, the trees, the
Right.
roots, the big mess, the big debris, and we're gonna get that out of the 100-foot buffer zone or offsite. The same day, we're gonna remove the fill out of that area. And we're gonna bring in, the shrubs will be there, we're gonna plant and seed that area the same day. Then we're gonna work our way backwards. And then this area, we'll bring in loam and seed and work our way this way. My goal is to do this all in one day. So we come this way, the machine comes over at once. We spend the 8 to 10 hours, whatever it takes to get it done. Because to get all this to happen in one day, with all these different people, all these different companies, want to get it done and get it right and move on. So then we'll bring in soil and we'll seed to create the upland, to restore the 100-foot buffer zone. And we'll work that way down this way. And then probably a second day, another day, might not be contiguously right in a row, but we'll come back and we'll do this area. We'll clean out this area is pretty well cleaned out of debris, but we'll need to excavate it down, and then we'll need to plant it and seed it. And then we'll come this way and we'll bring in soil and we'll bring in the seed, and then I want to tackle these areas. So it's not going to be constant machinery driving over this and over this, because that would be, it's just not going to happen.
Tim, do you have a suggestion? What
I
would you
have a
think?
couple questions actually after this. So how much fill do you estimate is coming out? How much wood and stump debris is coming out? How much loom do you anticipate bringing in?
Well, we're gonna need some type of heavy equipment to bring in, to take this out. I keep hearing a mini excavator. We're gonna need a big dump truck to put that debris
This is what I'm
in.
talking about, the trucking.
Yep.
So there's gonna be multiple trucks constantly.
I think we could get the debris out in one large truck, maximum two. And then, you know, we could use a smaller little bobcat to bring down the shrubs and plant them by hand and do the seed mix. That'd be taking care of that. And then we'd have to bring in more soil. I would have to figure that out. I haven't done the square footage and all that yet. And then we'll seed that there. I do understand, and if it makes you guys more comfortable, I don't mind. I do not mind doing the auger holes and figuring out that wetland line. That's not a problem. But if we put in erosion controls within this area, I don't want to delineate this area and then excavate it right away, because that will just cause more impacts. If I delineate this area and put up some erosion control, I just want to make sure that the trucks and vehicles will be able to pass around it without impacting more trees in the buffer zone to get down here to do this first.
Right. But why couldn't you put silt sock on either side and make a road for the trucks and then delineate it at the end like you planned?
Okay.
And
well,
find out from the trucks how wide they need, probably 12 feet, and that would protect it further from all the impact, because you have at least 15 truckloads there with fill and wood coming out, at least.
Okay, well, I can definitely, I'm welcoming the suggestions. So you would, I'm hearing that you want me to delineate, this one I'm gonna need machinery. Because that's like.
Is that the one with the stone?
Yes, it's a big,
I mean,
Yeah, that's understandable.
yeah, we understand. So this one I can delineate out and I can put a staked silt sock.
Okay, that's up to you.
And
But
on the side.
But my focus is there needs to be a delineated road, and by delineated, I don't mean wetlands, I mean a definitive road for this truck or in equipment to go through. You can flag the wetlands at the end like you want to, but it
So
needs to be
you're saying
contained.
whether or not
She
it's
flags it
it's
an
a
hour
wetland,
later.
an hour later, if it's a wetland or not, you just want a minimum corridor with a silt fence on either side, right? Am I getting that correct? Is that okay with you too?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, it's just more cost and time.
But it also protects the wetland.
It does, because
So we-
essentially it's running trucks and equipment through an unprotected wetland, that's what it
Okay,
is.
So at least we're protecting the rest of it. We still might be running through some of it.
Okay, well, I can definitely propose that. So you would like silt socks along the entire roadway?
That's not what I said. Just between 3 and 4, that's what I said. I'm not saying entire
Just
roadway.
between 3 and 4.
Right.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. That's why I'm asking, just to get it right. Silt sock between 3 and 4, to delineate the roadway in which the equipment can go on.
Yes, exactly. Temporary construction access.
Okay.
And I did have another question about the replications. How did you determine the tree and shrub sizes for those?
Those are just typical nursery sizes. It's,
Is there a standard that you have to follow or anything like that, or you just?
that is the customary standard as well as the spacing that we use.
The spacing, yes, but I mean the size of them.
Yeah, that's normal unless, there's something in the bylaw that actually states for each, diameter cut, you need to replace with diameter replacement.
Okay. On the red maples, I believe specifically, you had it sized by 4 to 5 feet. Can we have caliper sizes on those?
Usually a 4 to 5 foot is half an inch to an inch caliper. It's usually a whip.
Do you think that's adequate for what was removed there?
It's okay to say no.
I do believe it's much smaller than that was taken out. But since you don't have anything for specifications in your bylaw, we're gonna do what's normally done.
Okay.
Do we need them to have some kind of construction entrance put down, like some rock and stuff to make sure that they don't take stuff off?
It
Or add
And-
stuff.
it wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, any new project, you always see.
Yeah, if they could
50
do it
foot wide
outside
construction
the-
entrance.
Outside, at the very entrance of the road, outside of the wetland area.
I believe there was gravel.
Yeah,
There
there's
is?
stone and there's also lawn. His lawn's gonna get pretty,
Beat up.
yeah, because we'll be coming down the driveway around the house, which is a lawn, which is, currently being used, and then down, and then it ends, it starts like the gravel roadway, and then down into the dirt roadway.
And where is the soil going to come from if you need to bring in additional
We
soil?
can bring in clean soil. I can get you the name of the company and whatever.
We just want to make certain that we're not introducing anything invasive, so
Yeah.
things like washing the
Yeah,
trucks down
I
at the end of the
understand.
day.
Yeah.
Things like that would be good.
Anybody else have anything from the board? Open it up to the public? Back to the board? Nicole, are you going to provide us with a new narrative as well, with the updated changes and whatnot?
About the questions about the agent and such?
Yes.
Or yeah, you know what, I can do that, and I can also, in writing, respond to those questions that you provided.
Okay, perfect.
I would expect that we need to continue this to some point in time. I mean, does it make sense for us to wait until the survey comes in?
Yeah, more than likely.
Or do we do it in a month, like in 2 meetings?
Or do you want to come back in 2
Well,
weeks to give us
I
a
have to
plan?
come back in 2 weeks for a different project anyway, so I'll be here and I can answer any questions. I can even give you an update on stuff then.
That would be
Yeah.
good.
That'd be great.
That'd be good.
And when is that hearing? September what? 13th? Okay, well, I'll be back then and I'll just give you an update on everything.
Thank you.
All right? Okay,
Okay.
thank
Do we have
you.
a
Thank
motion?
you.
Do we need to
Make a
vote?
motion to continue.
The,
I'll make a motion to continue the 0 Hancock Street restoration plan, enforcement order.
All in favor?
I,
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Nicole.
Oh, we do.
This thing's...
Next up on the agenda is SE 084558, notice of intent filed by Abington Investments LLC located at 402 Groveland Street.
Good evening, members of the Conservation Commission. For the record, again, my name is Attorney Sean Riley, representing Abington Investments LLC. With me tonight is Glenn LaPointe Jr. to my left, and Rebecca Baptista from SEA, Solar Engineering Associates. This is a continued hearing with our notice of intent, where we seek an order of conditions to allow the construction of a driveway for a single-family home. The property address is 402 Groveland Street. The location of the driveway is off Linwood Street. As I mentioned, this is a continued hearing. Rebecca is now passing out full-size copies of the plans. I do need to let you know, Rebecca recently had some surgery to her mouth. So if you cannot crack any jokes, she would appreciate it, because laughing hurts. She is going to try to make part of the presentation tonight, because she's the most knowledgeable here. SEA, as you know, has been doing work, civil engineering work and wetlands delineation work for over 30 years. God bless you. And Rebecca is the lead engineer on this project. She has submitted a rather thorough response paperwork in addition to an updated site plan. And she will, in a few minutes, take time to go through the responses, both to some of the brief questions that DEP had pondered and some of the questions and requests that you, as board members, had requested or suggested during our last meeting. Since our last meeting, 2 updates, just for the record. There was a site walk just a few days ago. I know some of you were in attendance, and I believe Mr. Warner's been out there also. And also, just so you're aware, the Zoning Board of Appeals also approved the variance to allow the driveway to be located in this position, and also the special permit for the house and driveway to be constructed in the what's known as the Floodplain Wetlands Protection Overlay District for the town of Abington. The plan has been updated, adding the second 12-inch pipe underneath the crossing area. Just to remind you, the total amount of fill is less than 5,000 square feet. The replication area is over 5,000 square feet. I won't bog you down with more of me talking, because I think Rebecca is the one that can kind of get right to the point and answer a lot of questions, and maybe she can give you a review of some of what's been submitted for your review tonight. So, Rebecca Baptista.
Good evening, Rebecca from Silver Engineering. I'll do my best not to smile, it hurts. I know you just got this stuff today. I've been diligently working to try to get it to you sooner, but things happened. In the meantime, I've had our botanists go out again and do some test bits along the transect for the mitigation report that is now submitted to you with a planting schedule and some of his dialogue on what he expects during the construction. I know one of your other comments was a construction period plan. I have included that in your packet, 4 pages for what they should and should not do. Construction detail, construction entrance has been added. I know we spoke about a silt fence wattle in the location of the filling area, and then a wattle and everywhere else. Those details have been added to the plan as well. And it's spelled out in the construction plan. A lot of the changes were in regard to DEP's comments too. I now show a compensatory storage. It's adjacent to the floodplain and outside of it. It encompasses the replication area. I worked with Ken to make sure that we matched our topography and our square footage. So now we have increased our replication area to accommodate the compensatory storage. This is a flood zone A without an elevation, so on average we're filling about a foot, and so with the square footage of about 5,870, did I get that right? 5,000, it's about that many cubic feet, and so we're actually a little bit over the square footage, the yardage for compensatory storage, but you lose a little bit when you actually construct it, so I always like to give a little bit extra on the plan, just so they have a chance to get it done. So a lot of the comments are outlined in the letter. If you'd like, we can go through each one. I've addressed mitigation measures for the construction entrance, the sedimentation controls, the construction protocol. That was in response to DEP comment 1. Other performance standards. I have provided in your packet as well response to DEP's comment about obtaining an easement from the abutting land, and the town of Abington bylaws don't allow that, and we show you the plan. It's actually in your packet. You can see that we cannot share another driveway with an abutting property. And I also show the alternative for a single-family home would be to cross from Groveland, and the filling was upwards of 20,000 square feet of wetlands, and so the other alternatives were a 3-lot subdivision or coming over a lot more wetlands crossing. And so to answer the performance standards for alternatives analysis, they seem to be worse. So this is the best alternative besides not building, and that's not practical. DEP comment 3 was a replacement area needed to exceed or 1-to-1 or exceed. And then, again, we've provided you with a replication plan, which outlines all the steps and monitoring for the next 2 years to make sure that 75% is in growth. DEP comment 4 was compliance with bordering land subject to flooding. I outlined each comment that is in that section 10.574A1. We are providing the compensatory storage. We are providing a hydraulic connectivity by having those 2 culverts. One was at the original elevation, and then one is about 6 inches higher and a little bit further up the driveway, so it would alleviate the potential for any backing up of surface water. DEP comment 5 was based on 401 water quality, which doesn't necessarily apply. We don't meet the criteria. We are under the 5,000 square feet, and we don't meet any of the 1 through 11 project criteria that are outlined. And any concerns can be brought up in an order of conditions and outlined as a safety measure. That was the last of the DEP comments. There was commission comments, and I've addressed those hopefully through the previous comments and the discussions at the site walk and the discussions at the last meeting. We're not in a riverfront. This is an intermittent stream. It's shown on the plan now. You can kind of see how far away it is. The other comments about the NOI filing, the digital copies, the construction entrance, I have added all of that. I've extended the view of the plan so you can see where the floodplain is for the Zone A and the Zone X. I know that's a really quick summary, so let's see. I think that was all my fun attachments. I went fast. If there's any questions, thoughts?
Did you put a description in of the compensatory storage, how deep it's going to be and all that, in something that you just gave us? I haven't had a chance to look through any of it,
I understand.
obviously.
So again, when I call out on the plan that the floodplain filling is on average about a foot over the 5,735 square feet.
Where is it on the plan? On the notes
Yep.
over here?
If I can just lean right over you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I put right in here, because this is the bordering land.
Okay.
This is the land subject to flooding, and that's my outline right there.
Okay.
And then, with the help of Ken and his replication plan, we're taking the elevation of that replication from the 142, well, we're gonna stretch the 142, so we're gonna take the 143 down a foot to compensate for the 1 foot we're filling on average.
So-
And in fact, it's a little bit more because we do touch the 144, and it's gonna come down a little bit.
So that's in the note here somewhere?
The-
That you're going, where you're going in this area?
Yep, and then it's outlined in the wetland replication.
plan? Okay.
Yeah, because he does a nice little profile showing, in his plan, he shows a profile of how we're pulling down the elevations to meet.
Okay.
He likes to be 18 inches above groundwater, 6 inches low seed, he told me. I forgot already, I'm sorry.
Okay. My other question is, well, comment, actually. Now that we have the 100-year floodplain, the roadway is actually, a piece of it is actually in the 100-year floodplain that you're filling in, and that is isolated land subject to flooding, which is a wetland. So your overall square footage went beyond 5,000 with that additional filling, right?
Bordering land subject to flooding.
Bordering land subject to flooding, but it's a wetland.
I think you've lost me in your explanation. Can,
Okay, this is, if you're in the 100-year floodplain,
Okay.
you're filling it in,
yep,
it's also considered a wetland. It's isolated land subject, so not isolated, sorry.
That's where you-
Bordering land
okay,
subject to
thank
flooding.
you.
That was my fault, sorry. Bordering land subject to
Right.
flooding. And that's not included in your replication. And I don't know
bordering,
if,
if I understand bordering land subject to flooding correctly, you have to compensate for the volume that you've removed. I don't believe it's square footage, as in you can't fill more?
I don't know. I guess it's a question for you and your wetlands.
Yeah.
I'll have to call
This
I just caught this, so I didn't research it as much as I'd like. When you guys went out for the walk,
Mm-hmm.
where Were you happy with that? I'm going to go out with Paul at some point, but were you happy with that area, like right here at the entrance?
I'm also going to chime in on something else a little bit different, but I've worked with FEMA in the regards of these flood lines, okay? And they're way inaccurate. I hate to say it.
They're kind of a pain the way they've laid them
So
out.
many locations, we have been able to get people out of flood insurance because the lines aren't accurate. A Zone A means we didn't look at it, we're guessing. If this was me and I was trying to do this, I would relocate that so it actually matched the wetlands and the corridor that that surface flow runs over. The fact that this comes up and comes back down and doesn't actually encompass the entire wetland the right way already tells me that they guessed without much more looking into it. Can I say this is an accurate floodplain? No. Is it close? Probably. Could it be shifted into the wetlands a little bit more and so it's not bordering land subject to flooding? Most likely. That's my take on FEMA. They're not that great when they're in a Zone A. When they have a Zone AE or an elevation, they're pretty good actually. But Zone A's are wishy-washy at best.
It's a hypothetical guess.
It's a hypothetical guess. And so if this is their best guess, I would say I would have shifted it over a little bit better and matched the topography a lot more. I mean, it's a flood zone. Why is it going to go uphill? It wouldn't go uphill.
So back to my actual question to you guys. You walked out there. How did you feel about the delineation there?
I had some issues with delineation located by flag 32, which is a little bit farther out, not in that particular area.
That was, yeah, that one over there.
Yeah, I don't know how close we got to the flags in this area,
We
though.
didn't. We kind of walked very quickly through there because we left the grass area where we parked and we proceeded down the path.
Yeah, this was the area of that dirt.
Which
Yeah.
I remember you saying it's very wet. It just seemed like it was very damp as we were walking through, and this is before we even got rain. So I really wasn't focusing in on it, other than the comment that you had made about it being damp. You know, seeing the FEMA line on here now, the zone, I mean, I understand the point that you're making.
I wouldn't
But
call,
it's-
this is saying that 152, elevation 152 is in floodplain.
Right, but the
And
wetlands
clearly,
also
we were
say that-
down quite a few more elevation. We were down to 150 before we noticed it dropped off into that dirt ditch. It was clearly a ditch. and
Right, but your
clearly damp.
wetland flagging is up there as well, so, I mean, for whatever reason.
Yeah, it followed the terrain, the
Well,
topography. there.
one of the things we discussed at the end was having either a peer review or Andrew coming out from DEP, just to delineate, not the entire property, but, because that's huge, but just these
To check
areas.
the things that are gonna be impacted, particularly the driveway area and where the house is. We had a training session, and it came up, and he really wanted to go that day, and there was no way to notify anybody to get approval to go on the property, but he will have some availability in September.
It might
And-
be nice to get that, because we can ask him questions about FEMA floodplain, like his opinion on that, because
And-
while we don't really know, right? It's like it could be, it may not be.
It would save the homeowner,
Bucket
the
load.
developer money, because if DEP comes for free, where if we decide to get a consultant, it's gonna cost them money. So, you know, it's really, if they're okay with it, I would think that having DEP go for a walk would probably be easier for us, but that's your call. Because it's just, we recognize it's a single house lot, so. And where Andrew said he'd go, it's just he's busy he said for 2 weeks, and he thought he could go early September.
Yeah, but 2 weeks he didn't have the availability, but he does as of the 1st of September.
I understand what you're asking, and I would only say that, you know, time is money also, and that, you know, I hope the board can take some can recognize that this was flagged by Ken, and she refers to as Ken Thompson. Ken is a soil evaluator, wetland scientist, and a botanist. So he has credentials, he's been doing this for a number of years. So I think I would hope that you have some sort of confidence in his flagging. And as I mentioned, SEA has been doing this for over 30 years, so that their design, I think, is something that hopefully you can rely upon. And again, I would offer, this is a single-family house with a driveway. It's less than 5,000 square feet that we're disturbing, and it is the minimal impact. I think we all agree, the zoning board, the Conservation Commission, and the applicant, that we're doing the minimal that we could propose. So we believe it's, well-designed. It's exempt from stormwater management standards because it's a single-family house. And as I mentioned, the zoning board has approved it. So honestly, we were hoping for approval tonight based on the plans that were submitted and the feedback that we received from you. And I know the board has to make those decisions, but that's my feedback.
I already said at the site walk that I disagreed, or I was confused maybe by some of the flagging. So it's not unreasonable, in my opinion, to ask someone for a second opinion. And as we
No, it's a
discussed
board decision. I understand that, yep.
as we discussed during the site walk, it's a pretty typical thing, and we talked about the fact that the wetland scientists, they usually go out with the peer review. They can come out, we had that with Zero Hancock, but sometimes even the most professional people are off by 20, 30 feet. It's happened a number of times, and may not with this particular one.
I haven't seen that myself.
But, well, DEP has. So that we just want to make certain that what we have is right, because some of the things I saw, I thought was not quite right. And maybe it is.
Yeah, are you talking about in that driveway area that we're
Not the driveway
focusing
area.
on? Where
No.
are you?
Right around this area. I think it was flag 32. But it's just one example of an area where it just kind of didn't make sense to me based on what I saw.
And the other thing is, we just got a bunch of information that none of us have had the opportunity to read. So, if we had gotten it beforehand, I think we would be in somewhat better shape, but we're still should be continuing it so that we actually have an opportunity to read what I just got, what you all
I
got.
would like an opportunity to be able to, go through this more thoroughly. I know at the site walk, you were very kind and handed us out a map. And based on that, as we were walking, I did make some notations myself of questions that I had. Now you're presenting us with new plans that I haven't had a chance to compare. One of the things that Andrew did mention is that sometimes flags can be off. It can be to the disadvantage to the applicant and a disadvantage to the town. It's just determining where an accurate wetland line is. And that would be the whole purpose. I mean, I'm not a wetland scientist, I don't claim to be, so I would want to have an outside opinion myself, just to say, yep, this is absolutely correct, I agree with this. It's a tricky area, and I don't feel qualified to just come in here and say, okay, yeah, that looks real good. I would just like to be able to have somebody confirm this, other than Mr. Thompson. That's my feelings.
And you haven't, Paul hasn't visited the property yet?
No, I was going to go with Paul, but we haven't had a chance yet. I don't.
Okay.
So, but the rest of you have, so which is great. And I don't think Dan has either.
Did you get a chance to go?
No.
No.
I haven't gone.
Oh, so there's 3 of you that have gone.
Right.
Yeah, but Paul and I we both couldn't go that night, but he said he would set something else up. But if DEP is going to go out, hopefully I can go that day.
It'd be nice to have people go out with him.
I think we have to continue the hearing, you should continue the hearing so we can actually read what we just got tonight. I think that's a bunch of papers. I mean, this is a bunch to read. I can't read it in 5 minutes here. It looks like they answered a lot of our questions, which I appreciate. I think that's great. But I'd just like to see us take that time. But I also think you should probably, my recommendation would be to, take advantage of having Andrew, because we're going to have to postpone this anyway. I don't know how quickly he can come out, but hopefully he can come soon.
Yeah, I don't think the project really dictates a full peer review like we've seen with some other past ones, because those are very complex, and this is a single family. I do understand if people have a couple of discrepancies with flags, they should be checked, and if DEP would do that, we'd have to make sure we have a set schedule for these guys, though. Just
I
within
agree.
reason, you know what I mean?
I agree with that. I know time is money, and I understand that, you know, a lot of people are self-employed. My husband used to be too, so I get the impact. But I don't think, you know, a week is going to make that great of a difference, and I'm sure Andrew had the availability in September. He mentioned that at the training session.
He did.
So, I mean,
I
he
don't
was
recall
more...
that.
Sorry?
I don't recall saying that.
Yeah, can I-
Oh, he did.
I don't remember.
He wanted to go that day, and I just said I
I think
couldn't.
Alex might have left at
Oh,
that
you
point.
might have.
Yeah. Yeah, because he was standing down in
Oh, yeah.
the hole.
But anyway, I mean,
Our concern was, again, I'm just to show you our side of the coin, is it's more than just a week delay because, well, let me first preface it. Is there anyone else, is there only one person at DEP who could come out? Is there someone else who could come out?
he's our circuit rider.
Yeah, I know, but is there someone who works with him?
I don't know, I
so-
suppose we could I could probably, or Lynn could reach, I could reach
It would
out.
just save time, because our concern is, if we waited, I think you said he wasn't available for the next 2 weeks.
No, he
Right.
said available September, so what are we, the 23rd today? So.
So what would happen, he would come out, and if he did see a flag that moved, good or bad, it has to go back to SCA, they have to redo the plan, they have to then resubmit, you know, so it's not just
Right.
waiting for him to get out there, there's then another week or two after that where things get done. So now we're talking about, we don't
Well,
see you.
I mean, a
till-
peer review would be the same thing, you know, if we had to hire an outside peer review. If-
Oh, I
if that's
understand, and that's why I'm saying,
So, I mean.
it's necessary, you know? I understand
Yeah.
your role, please understand ours.
Yes.
You know, flag 32, if it moves 5 feet, good or bad, is not gonna change the location of the house or the driveway. I mean, honestly, the driveway's not gonna move at all, that's where it is, you know, we all know that's where it is. The house is built on uplands, that's all. I understand your deliberation.
The house is going to be built in buffer zone, and I also wanted to make certain that the wetland replication area is actually not wetland itself, is actually
Yeah.
buffer. So that was another reason why having someone go up there just to double check, I think it's a good idea to make certain that we're not, you know, we're supposed to be replicating in an upland situation. So if these
Yeah, no,
wells are off.
believe me, we don't want that either, that's why
doesn't
we
have an effect.
hired a botanist.
Yeah.
I've stated my piece, it's okay, single family, less than 5,000, not stormwater, botanist did it, I don't think there's any reason, well, first, sir, I don't think there's any reason I would doubt their work. That's, you know, you have the right to do that.
I mean, the next meeting is September 13th, and he will have gone out there by then.
We hope.
We hope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, based on what he said, I think he will.
from what he said.
What he said, I think he'll be able to.
And
And we've got to pick a date
we
and
still,
time. and
even if we said,
notify
okay to
you
this,
too, so that you have the
I have
opportunity.
comments to make about moving things, anyway.
Oh, let's hear it.
So, but I don't know if we're ready to have that conversation yet. So.
Let's get that.
I'd like to,
we have that.
yeah, because if it's
Until we
something that has to be.
we're finished with this part.
Okay.
That's what I meant. Like,
Okay,
if there's
good.
other comments people have to make,
Great.
we're good? Okay. Okay, so I understand that this isn't actually the house that's going to be built, right? This is sort of more of an estimate, because you were going to sell the whole property to someone.
We're not sure. I mean, it's being built in that building envelope, correct? Am I correct in saying that?
That was the
Like the zoning
boss.
board has an approval that it be built in substantial compliance with proposals, so the house would be in that location. Whether it's squared off, you know, it's a foot shorter, a foot longer, but it can't be 15 feet longer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right, so, because that's one of my concerns, because we only have 25-foot buffer. It looks like the home is within 50 feet, which, you know, buffer zones are really tricky to do because the Wetlands Protection Act gives us broad, you know, it's a big gray area. And if you look at, you know, all kinds of handbooks, MACC handbook, they say go with the science. And 25 feet or less has never been found to not have an impact. But in a case like this, where we have things within 50 feet, that tends to be sort of the bare minimum if you're dealing with something like amphibians or concern about phosphorus runoff. I agree that we have a lot more discretion because we're dealing with a single-family home on a big piece of property in general, but the reason I bring this up is, first of all, I want to make certain that somebody doesn't start building even closer to this 25-foot buffer.
No, I centralized the location because of that reason. In fact, I even
Okay.
cut back the clearing near the replication area too.
I was happy to see that, because that was one of the things that I had seen on this map that you had handed us at the sidewalk. I mean, the line of clearing was all the way to the replication area, and I'm like, well, that's kind of...
I cut it
Cool, that
back
was
25. I thought of going a little further, but I didn't talk to the applicant
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I was asking about, is this the footprint of the house? Because I'm just,
Within substantial compliance. If they add a 2-foot bump, but on the whole, this is where the house will be.
okay,
It's generally, it's centrally located. This is the best situation for the lot because it is the closest away from all those little buffers.
yeah,
So, no, it's not moving, but maybe 2 feet in any which direction. If they hit a rock that they can't move, that would be ledge, but I don't anticipate that either.
okay,
This is where the house will stay.
okay, good.
And if there's any substantial change, 10 feet, it would be come back for a modification, so we can
Okay.
talk about it, and
Okay.
why we're doing it, and what they hit, or whatever happened.
Okay, good, thank you.
This is the location.
That's good. The second thing is the lawn.
Yeah, again, I pulled it in, I could have pulled it in a little bit more. Okay,
My concern is, you're probably going to have a homeowner who comes in.
Yep.
I don't know how carefully they're going to read the order of conditions in
Probably not
terms
very
of, say,
carefully.
fertilizing, but you're probably, if they decide to fertilize that lawn, it's going to go right into a wetlands replication area that they're supposed to be.
so we can
hoping
cut
to
that
grow.
back to it. Let me just assume where the 100-foot is and just cut across the backside there. That'll give them about a 100-foot backyard. That's more than enough for now.
So basically kind of cut that part.
Would you like me to come over and draw a line?
Yes.
No laughing.
Sorry.
No laughing.
Sorry, you made the joke.
Okay, so if I cut across here...
Oh, can't you see
I'm
that?
gonna come right over to you in a moment.
All right.
Just to make it easier for all of us. What if I do something like that? Or, like that, got another color, draw a line. Or 2.
So the reason you made it like this rather than like that, is that because of? Well, I mean, I know
I get it.
a lot of people like big yards, but
Some people don't like to mow.
a lot of people don't, I'm one of those. But the person who's going to buy this, I imagine,
I would imagine 50 foot, but I can't keep 50 foot here and keep the roof recharge within, and so, and I can't really do 50 feet here because it kind of cuts off the side. So really all I can do is, logistically, is cut the back
yeah.
so that it just looks, I did that, but I didn't mean that, I did that.
Okay.
And I even cut it in over here, I actually reduced some of the grading on this side to not impact as much. And this one was a little years. Give them a little treat.
Yeah. I mean, like Mr. LaPointe, you said the person who would buy this house, we're looking for a small, I don't know how small the home would be, but they really enjoyed having the trees. And I think that someone who does that wouldn't care so much about a huge yard. They'd be liking those trees back there. So they still get the yard.
So,
There's truth to that, I mean,
But-
especially when you can't water it.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, I know people who are like that, they just want to build, they want a tiny home on 12 acres of land and they don't want a lawn. And I'm just thinking that that's the sort of, maybe not a tiny home person it would attract, but it would be somebody like that who really appreciates it and they're not looking for an acre of lawn and.
Or maybe a big home with a tiny yard.
I thought they make tiny
Yeah.
houses. Can have that.
And if they decided to change the footprint of the house by some significant amount, they will be required to file an amended order of conditions, and you
Right.
have to approve it.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna have to make that really clear in our orders of conditions, that will travel with the, that, you know, they have to.
So with all of that being said, other than flag 32 and the alterations that you're going to make right now, is there any reason that we can't just add that to the condition, subject to DEP coming out and making sure that we're comfortable with that, and at least allow them to move forward?
I mean, the
think we
footprint?
So the footprint's the footprint, it's not moving. I
Right,
don't care
right.
if it's a ranch or a colonial or whatnot.
Right.
So as far as that goes, the only thing that's going to be moving is the delineation of the land of what she's cutting back.
Right, but I also
And our
had,
concerns with flag 32.
right, but I also had concerns about the FEMA. I mean, I understand it's a gray area and it can go, I mean, they just kind of drew it on here, but it would be nice to have it looked at by someone else to say, yeah, no, or something to that effect. I'm not a wetland scientist, I can't say exactly what it is. I wouldn't even begin to want to guess what it was.
But I think my point is, there's no reason why we can't add that to the condition and move forward so that they can stop their
I
work.
still think we should read what we just got.
Wetland.
Can I,
That's important too. I have not read
We
it.
got a bunch of things here, guys, that nobody's read.
can I suggest, for everyone's sanity, we agree to continue this to
Thank you.
September 13th?
Yeah.
And if you guys are able to ask your contact with DEP to come out and view it before that and report before September 13th, we'd love to see the input. And if he says, I can't make it, then I'm sorry, we need to move forward. You know, let's see what we can get done before the 13th. So if he is able to come out and give you any sort of email report, if you could forward it to us as soon as possible, so that SEA could potentially tweak it, go to bed, and have potentially a plan that we might bring that night, because of the timing of everything, or we'll get it into you as soon as possible. We can try to wrap this up. You might step on your toes?
No, I'm adding to it.
Okay.
If you feel that there's comments on any of these, you can get it to me sooner than next week, next meeting.
Yeah. I think when you do a kind of review that, I think you'll see that Rebecca did a nice thorough job. But if there is something that's been omitted or you want clarified, just if you want to have Tony or the chair send us something. We want to do it right. I don't want you to think we're trying to skirt anything, but we also don't want to make this feel like it's a commercial project when this is a single-family home with a driveway.
No, but we have done this with other projects as well, so, I mean, it's nothing new, so, I mean, it is something that we have done, so.
We're not asking for a full delineation of this
No, we're not.
entire
Yeah,
property,
you want someone
right?
to take it and
It's
I'll look at the
just, can
questions
we're
and-
just trying to confirm some areas.
Yep,
It doesn't take that long.
go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, if everybody on the board agrees, it seems it's cheaper
yeah.
to get it for free, and it's not going to take long.
And the good thing for you guys is I won't be here on the 13th, so Rebecca will carry the flag for that.
I should be able to talk in left then too. Did you have any other comments? I didn't know if you had more.
Oh, I think I'm done.
We probably need to ask the audience, though.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I mean, there might be other people here
Right.
who want to speak.
Yeah.
Anybody in the audience here want to speak on it?
Oh,
Back to the board. Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to continue.
I'll make a motion to continue.
I'll second that.
SE 084-558 until the September 13th meeting.
And you need to add in the commitment that Concom will contact your DEP person and try to ask them to come up before that.
yes.
And if you
Do
can't,
you
you can
want
report to
a
us.
motion on that?
Well, I just want to...
We can-
Yeah, I would like a motion of that, so I know that you're doing the best and we're doing the best. We're all going to try to come back here the 13th and have everything on the table for all of our benefit.
Before the 13th.
I guess we should finish this motion first.
Yes. So we have a second?
I will second the motion to continue.
All in favor? Opposed?
I'm going to say opposed only because I'd like to have you read your motion again so that it's crystal clear,
Okay.
so that Tony can get it right from the that's all.
I mean, it's, okay. So, Mr. Riley, do you want to just give me your comments one more time and we will just make sure everything's included in this motion so that we will be meeting everybody's,
I think it was a motion to continue this hearing till Tuesday, September 13th.
right?
And to authorize and direct, I don't know if it's the chairman or the secretary, to request that your DEP agent, I don't know what it's called,
Circuit rider. Gene will
Circuit rider.
contact him.
Yeah, I will contact him.
be asked to try to visit the property
Tony's.
and view the flag and offer his,
You've already asked it? I'm sorry, Mr. Riley. I apologize, she had,
I just
Or one
sent
spread.
an email, so.
Oh,
I
okay.
got it.
thank you.
okay, thank you. All right, so that's all in the motion to continue SE 084-558 until the September 13th meeting, with the condition that Conservation will contact DEP Circuit Rider to get our questions and concerns looked at, and to make Mr. Riley and Mr. LaPointe aware of everything that goes on up until that point. Does that satisfy everyone?
That would be great. We'll try to put it all together on a plan.
Okay.
I'll
Do
second
I have a
that.
second?
I will second that.
Here we
All
go.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you very much.
And assume we can have permission to, we'll get back to you when the DEP gets back to us with permission to walk.
Oh,
Yeah, if
yeah.
you could just notify either my office or LaPointe's office directly, just so if a neighbor calls and says somebody's out there, we'll know it's you guys.
All right, so we do have that piece of paper authorizing people to be on that property.
Yeah, I don't think there's any form. Someone mentioned a form. I sent an email.
Yeah,
to
the
your
email is
office.
what we had, so I just want to make sure that if I send a copy of that to Mr. Poignant, I mean, that will be fine, and then he just needs approval from this board, so I think we could just do a blanket approval for him.
And as long as we are just told when someone's coming out, and just with the understanding that if anyone trips and falls, it's on you,
Oh,
or the town.
we know that, yeah.
Well, I just want to say that because it's always a concern of the property owner.
Mr. Poignant Jr. was very good at helping me over the obstacles, he was very.
Oh,
Well, you
my
might not be
goodness.
the next person.
I think, are we as municipal employees, right? It's the
Yeah.
town?
Yeah, oh yeah, I just,
Right,
you know, any property owner hates to see someone get hurt on their own property. I just want to know that they're involved.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Feel better?
I hope you feel better.
All right, we have discussion and possible vote on notice of intent checklist with possible revisions. I met with Tony. That's new business.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I spoke with Tony before the meeting. She's made some good progress with it. She's not completed at this time. I think it'd be best to continue this until following meeting.
What has to be completed, Dave? I'm not sure. It was already a completed project. We were just splitting the administrative part from the,
There's a lot of editing I've been doing and a lot of things that we can't do due to our bylaws, like certain fees, for example. Like, let's take the new fees that we got approved that actually haven't gone live yet. We can't do some of them because of our bylaws, like enforcement orders. We can't give people, we can't find them to redo work because it's in our bylaws that we can't.
it's not a fine, it would just be to reinstate.
Exactly. We can't do that because our bylaws. So there's stuff like that that I've been picking up in it that we can't do, so I'm trying to find a way that we can do it, but not,
Would that require
But-
probably articles for the fall town meeting? For them to be approved?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
I've been looking into certain things and there's some ways I can get around it and there's some that I just don't have answers for yet, and that's what I'm working on for you, is answers.
Are we talking about the fees, or are we talking about the?
Both.
Checklist.
The checklist, why would the checklist have fees in it?
I don't know.
There's, that's a different one. So I can't really show you right now
Okay.
on just this.
Well, maybe, instead of doing this through the meeting, can you just update us?
I could send out a mass email later in the night or
I
something.
mean, that would save you a little time, so then we can just bump it up over what we had, and you can point out the points of concern.
If you, yeah, that's fine. I'll do that. I'll scan what I have.
Because we do have a bylaw that allows us to, because I was on the bylaw committee when we did it. I was the chair. And we do have a bylaw that exists, it's like a ticket system that even the Board of Health uses, that allows us, the first is a warning, and then there's.
Yes, that's-
Upgrading the fees,
That's fine. We can do that.
yes,
But we can't issue a reinstatement fee due to the bylaw.
okay.
So there are certain things that we can't do and there are certain things that we can do, and I'm trying to make it so we
It's in
can.
the checklist. I don't remember that in the checklist, do you guys?
It wasn't in the
Not in the
checklist, it was,
checklist.
we're talking both the fee schedule.
You're talking the fee schedule, really, Tony, aren't you?
Both the same.
No, they're two
I've got
different-
two different documents. I
Yeah.
got 3 different documents going on for this right now because I've been splitting it up and going through certain things that just, either it's very, very redundant in a weird way. I'm sorry if it comes off that way, but it comes off redundant and hard to read for certain people. And then in other ways, it's just not the best, and I'm trying to give you the best if it's...
Okay.
So if you want to take that, pass it down. Here's one of them that I've worked on. I'm not changing anything. I'm still
Right.
using the information.
Yeah, the NOI checklist that pretty much we used was one that we were given from the MAC organization, so.
So that's one of them that I'm working on.
I think she's on.
That's
I don't remember
4
that on the list, but
pages
maybe
that I've
it's
put into
there.
one, because some of it overlapped, so I split things up so they wouldn't overlap, but still get the main point across.
Well, if you have a question,
I've been working closely with Paul with this right now.
Okay,
So
but,
Paul and I have been going back and forth. We've probably been
free
on the
to
phone for like an hour a day each day.
feel free to contact Jean or I, because I think
Lynn-
Lynn did the replication and I did a lot of.
I haven't even made it to the replication yet, unfortunately. That's what I plan to do next.
So Lynn would be the right person to talk to for that. But some of the stuff we got right off of Mac, so.
Right. So that's why when you say redundant, I was kind of like,
So,
I wasn't sure.
so the fees are on hold as well, right? Am I hearing that?
Is
The
that,
fees, are they on the agenda? I don't have the
Because
agenda
you're
in front of me.
talking about fees.
Oh, I didn't think I was gonna get it done this morning. No, so we can approve it next meeting.
You gave us a copy of the fees. Are they finished?
Yes, that's the final, but I don't think we can vote on them because I didn't think I was gonna have them done for this meeting, and I didn't put them on the agenda
Okay, so you'll put them on the agenda for the
for next meeting.
Okay, great.
Let's see.
So is that you? That's you.
Oh, no, that's mine.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion that we pass over our notice of intent checklist for the next meeting on September 13th.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, new business, notice of intent filed by Walter L. Mann located at 140 Rockville Street.
Hi, my name is Attorney Sean Riley, 500 Washington Street for the record. I'm here representing Lee Mann, who's sitting here in the front row, who with his wife Maria owns the property at 140 Rockland Street in Abington. Lee and Maria actually live on this property. They have an existing house with an existing driveway. It is several acres in size, as you've seen by the submitted plans. With us also tonight are from Strong Point Engineering Solutions, Eric and Stephanie, who will be doing the bulk of the presentation to explain why we're here. As I mentioned, the man's current house already exists. The driveway, the gravel driveway already exists. There's a culvert that already exists. We are proposing now, we're going through the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board to basically create a private roadway so that they can create 3 subdivision lots. 3 lots, because they're going to build a house for your daughter? Daughter and son out on the property. This is a significant ledge outcroppings on this property also, but in short, the proposal to convert the driveway into the private roadway requires no filling of wetlands. There is no river on this property, and DEP has not assigned a number yet, so I'll concede right now we're going to continue this meeting, no problem. DEP had asked a question about a river which is off property to the west, and I think it's pretty clear just with when you look at the lot layout plan, the length of the side lot line is, I think, 245 feet on our property. The river being off property, that just tells you that the roadway is more than 200 feet off the river. But Eric has tried to reach out to DEP. They'll have that conversation. We'll have that formalized for the next meeting, the response to DEP. So again, I will step aside, let Stephanie and Eric do most of the presentation for tonight.
Good evening. So as Sean mentioned, we have it's about 8.5 acre parcel. where the mans currently live. There was an order of condition in 2018 to build the existing gravel driveway. So it is closest where the driveway is. You can see my lovely Vanna White over there. The wetland is about 4 feet from the existing driveway. It's separated by a stone wall. So we have the one BVW closest to the roadway. We have an ILSF located kind of in the corner of the northern corner, and then we have one large BVW complex kind of along the rear of the property. The stream river that Sean mentioned is off of the property within that BVW. So the existing house and the roadway are all located in buffer zone, but it was previously approved. So the delineation that we show is actually from 2018. It was delineated by Brooke Monroe and Pine Brook Consulting. And when we update, if we update the plans, we'll also include the actual delineation memo from the previous delineation. 2018.
When? 2018?
It was done in 2018. Our office did go out there and take a look at the wetland flags, and we find them to be generally accurate. Certainly, this commission may want to have a site walk, and we are in contact with Brooke Monroe from Pine Brook, who's agreed to work with us, do anything that we need. If we need to refresh any wetland lines and things like that, she's glad to join us. So I think we're well equipped there.
So for our proposed work, as Sean mentioned, we're basically making a three-lot subdivision so that will be the existing house and then 2 new houses for the children. This notice of intent is strictly for the roadway and the infrastructure. As proposed right now, the houses are not located within any resource areas. So our plan is to pave the existing gravel driveway. It will be widened to meet fire access. We're widening it to 18 feet at the widest. In order to kind of mitigate, we're sticking with the existing center line of the driveway. It kind of weaves through the buffer zones and around the ledge outcrops that are there now. And if in the future something changes on the individual lot designs, they would obviously come back for their own notice of intent. So in order to mitigate stormwater, since this 3-lot subdivision is not required to meet the mass state stormwater bylaws, but we've done the best we can. We've graded the road so that there's really no cutting or filling. And we've pitched it all towards the northern side where we'll have a stormwater depression. And that's the only clearing of undisturbed area on the site is where we'll be putting the stormwater depression. It's currently located at its closest 25 feet to the ILSF. And actually in that area, the roadway, currently the driveway is about, I believe, 10 feet from the ILSF, and we're actually pushing it outside of the buffer in that area. The existing culvert, we match flows to the existing culvert that goes under the driveway that connects kind of the abutting side to the existing BVW that exists. And I think that's kind of the basics, so if you have any questions or concerns, I can try and answer them for you.
I went on to Mass Mapper, and they're showing you had an order of conditions, which was one of my questions, because at the entrance, they're showing a wetland that's pretty big, but the road goes through that wetland, and that was approved, and they made it gravel, probably so that the wetland wouldn't be as impacted, so there was some drainage there. But there's also, and I'll pass this around, I only printed that. There's a man-made filled area, the DEP from 2005, that's showing on there, that's here.
Yep.
And there's also a wetland. It's connecting the wetland here somehow, and I don't understand what's going on here.
So the wetland was filled in 2005. It was actually under an order of conditions. It was done with permission.
Did we do a replication area?
Previous owner.
Its previous owner was done.
But where's the replication area? Do you know?
I don't believe there was a replication area done as a part of that filling.
So-
It occurred back in 2005.
But it was
Tony, were you able to pull the filings for this?
I did not. Give me 1 minute.
Yeah, I
But
did ask.
it was done under an order of conditions in 2005, so
I'd like to see the order of conditions to see what they did, that's all.
We can certainly dig that out.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable to ask that question, because this still is on the DEP map, and they usually ask us, when something shows up, what is this, and they'll take it off if it's been approved. So.
Yep, I mean,
And here, I'm gonna pass this around.
Yeah,
But it's
I went on this map.
the area with the orange.
Right, the orange, it shows the
But there's
wetland change.
also a wetland above it, so that it's not, the only thing that's left is the isolated land subject to flooding. It seems like we took out the connection. So,
I mean, I can tell you the DEP number for
that would be
the
probably.
order of condition. It's actually in the narrative that we supplied to you. The 2005 number was DEP 084-0368.
0368?
Yep.
Okay.
And that is that authorized the filling.
And that's because they put the house in?
Nope.
No, just because they filled in where
They
they
filled
shouldn't?
it in.
They filled in. The house actually came in, correct me if I'm wrong, Stephanie, that was the result of the 2018 order of
Yes.
conditions.
So what number is that one?
That is DEP number 084-0526.
0526. Okay, so we should pull those and take a look at them. Just so that we are all kind of understand the history of the site.
Did replicate.
Yeah, especially if it was filled and it shouldn't have been, which is, this was a fairly, not Mr. Mann, but it was a fairly controversial site. I wasn't on the board at that point, and then there was some issue when I was on the board, but they, I don't really know the history of this one.
What year was that?
2005.
2000, I wasn't on the board when all that went on.
The guy that everybody said he was a shyster.
But I mean, even,
I didn't hear that.
We didn't hear that.
I didn't hear that.
I also, we did actually contact Tony to try and get a copy of the 2018 filing, but I don't think you were able to find it, is what,
I know you said that the stream river is not on this property.
Yes.
However, it would be nice to see it because with a perennial river,
Yep.
there is a 200-foot protection
Yes.
area, and I would like to see that. If
So
that's here.
we will update the plans. It is, when you look at the GIS, it is a significant ways off of the site. If you look at the one property
It's right
line.
here. I have the mass map, sorry, because we can't see that.
Yeah, but the only thing is, when you look at GIS
Right.
maps and everything, I mean, when you physically go and see it,
Yes.
it can be off by a lot. I mean, so we've had experiences in other
So
One of the
situations.
things one of the reasons for my call to Andrew this week was to determine how we best show that. Thought I was loud enough. It
It does pick you up, the new mics do pick you
Oh,
up.
good,
everywhere,
okay.
yeah.
One of the reasons for my call to Andrew this week was to determine how we best show that. One of the issues that we face is that where the stream river is not actually on our property, we don't necessarily have the right to go delineate and survey on the neighbor's property.
Right.
So what I would prefer to do, not to mention that, and it saves my client a few bucks, is that we can at least show the stream bank based on USGS information, add that to the plan, show the 200-foot buffer zone off of that, rather than having to go redelineate the whole stream bank, because I think it is kind of a moot point. If you look on sheet NOI 2, you'll see the end of our cul-de-sac is here. This line to the end of the property is 306 feet away. So we're not working within 300 feet of the end of the property, and Stream River is beyond that. So we're hoping to have just a...
Probably about 600 feet in.
It's quite a ways, so we're just hoping to have a reasonable conversation with Andrew, who we know and we've always had a good relationship with. So we'll coordinate with him and get to the bottom of what we need to do there. But we will get something on the plan for you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. One other question, the driveway that's there now, what's the width on that?
So the width, I believe, is 16 feet at its narrowest, which is right where it comes in off of Rockland Street.
Right, that's my concern. Coming in from Rockland Street, it's at 16 feet, and you're going to widen it to 18?
Yes, but we're going to widen it away from
the wetland.
Away from the wetland side, and that's just for fire access.
And how's the drainage handled there? Are you going to put?
So it's going to be curved, and then there'll be a break in the curb, kind of to where it currently flows to at the culvert, but we're also proposing to add more of a riprap kind of flow dissipator to help.
So it's going to go along the road?
Yeah, it's going to flow along the road, along the northern side of the road this way and this way until it gets to its natural low point, in which case we'll break the curve at that point and let it kind of flow into a riprap flow dissipator where it will collect and then get to the culvert under the road where it flows currently.
The area that's flowing to the natural culvert isn't the whole, it's actually less than what's going there now.
From there to there.
And where does the culvert go? Is it underneath the road?
Yes, it's underneath the road.
Right.
And it goes to the wetland?
It discharges to the wetland,
Okay.
which is the natural flow path of the discharge.
And the rest of the road, what's going to go on with that?
So the rest of the road right now discharges to this isolated vegetated wetland here. So what we're going to do is we again use some country drainage and pitched it to the northern side. We're creating a stormwater, I don't want to call it a basin because it's not a basin, it's about a foot deep, just a small depression with a berm.
Like a rain garden?
Like a rain garden similar, but not planted. It's going to flow into that pseudo rain garden over top the berm and flow back into the isolated vegetated wetland that's there now. The only purpose of that rain garden is just to mitigate flows and take some TSS removal out of the stormwater runoff that might accumulate on the roadway. So we're matching the flows to all the design points.
And planning's not going to require you to do stormwater management?
Well, planning has a local bylaw that we need to meet. And I think to the maximum extent practical, we meet it on this site. Is that correct, Scott?
We meet all of the flows. We don't meet the TSS removal, but I think we're going to ask actually for a waiver on that because the problem is if we were to put in a closed drainage system to get storm scepters to get the full TSS removal that they ask for, we'd end up having to raise the road about 4 feet, which would then impact everything.
But for us, the TSS is probably the solids, the stuff running off, is of great interest to us.
Absolutely.
So, maybe a little forebay or something in your plans, and then your little basin might be more appropriate to deal with the road, just to deal with that runoff.
In a sense, the way that this sort of works is that the stormwater depression, the pseudo rain garden almost is our forebay. We did provide an operations and maintenance plan that requires periodic maintenance of it, check it for sediments that are accumulated, get rid of them, get those out of there. So it'll be kind of an ongoing maintenance thing we need to take a look at. But certainly, the O&M plan is there. It can be attached to your order of conditions, and it can be enforceable.
But yeah, the way it is now is there's actually a good, I would say probably 100 square feet so of a gravel riprap pad that will hopefully, it will slow the water down, allow fines to settle out, and hopefully stop the debris before it would go into the depression.
Any other questions we can answer while we're here?
We're gonna need to do a sidewalk, aren't we?
We would welcome the sidewalk. It's a beautiful property.
It is absolutely beautiful property.
You know, if you need them to go down there and be there with you guys to walk through what you want to go over and understand it more correctly, I think you should have front point on site when you're walking through.
That actually would be helpful. We
What
prefer
she was saying
that.
about rain gardens, that's a new thing that's going on in so many different towns, especially in the conditions that we have on our site. They're using it more often.
I would like to go after, because the wetland delineation
Which that's
expired.
fine.
It expired
Yeah.
last year. So I'd like to go after the site's been confirmed.
Sure.
With the flags and stuff. And just make certain that when they actually do the delineation and check it, that they not just include vegetation, but also soil information.
Okay.
The DEP is it replication guidelines? I can't remember. The delineation guidelines. They have a nice little table that you fill out, and it has percentage of soils and stuff. Ken Thompson does it a lot. And so that would be really nice to have that combination of vegetation and also soil information.
Sure.
Absolutely. Like I mentioned, Brookman Road from Pine Brook, who I think this board is probably somewhat familiar with. She's been in business for 25, 30 years, however long.
We're a relatively new board, so I don't really think we've had much
Oh,
dealing
well
with
then
her.
maybe you're not, I'm sorry. But she's very well qualified. She certainly delineates based on soil conditions. So everything that you're saying, what we'll do, we'll ask her to come to the site, refresh the wetland flagging that was done, make any adjustments that need to happen as soon as we can get her out there, and then we can schedule a site walk, both with the commission, my office, and we'll bring her to the meeting as well in case we're in the field and there's anything that the commission feels they want to question or adjust. We'll get it all done at the same time.
You can ask her to bring her auger with her. We'd be very happy.
She will.
Yeah, please.
We'll make sure.
And her muscle chart.
Yes.
Thank you.
But yeah, that sounds like a plan. If you can let us know when she's done that, then we can set up the sidewalk.
Sure, absolutely. I'll coordinate with her office tomorrow, and I'll get in touch with Tony, let her know when we're going to anticipate being out there, and hopefully we can schedule for as soon as possible thereafter.
So this is mostly legend here, so I know during the summer I've heard a lot of that, was that Rockland Street area?
That wasn't us. I was hearing it too. That was up Chestnut Street. Chestnut Street, Cape Cod.
Chestnut Street by Cape Cod lumber. Chestnut Street's on
Groveland. Yeah. That's where I heard
It was
from
Cape
my
Cod
house.
lumber?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
I don't know what Cape Cod lumber is. I don't know. Sewer project. Wasn't it the sewer project?
Yeah, there was a lot to do with that sewer project.
Yeah, because I actually got in my car and I was driving around and I'm like, where is that noise? Because where I am.
I heard it all the time.
Yeah, I'm just on the other side of Brockton Avenue and I'm like, I heard this all.
I heard it through the woods.
Yeah, well, you know, the dump site, the old dump site right near there.
I don't know, for those of you who don't know who Lee Man is, Lee Man Landscaping, he's a contract by trade, professional landscaper. And so he bought the site because of the beauty of the site, so that's what I'm saying, we're eager for you guys to go out there. And to that point, I would suggest that we not continue this to the 13th of September, but maybe the next meeting, because if we want to get Brooke out there to reflag and then get DP you guys out, or just get you guys out, given the fact that we have Labor Day holiday, I just don't see it all happening before the 13th.
And we've got we're running planning as a parallel track to this at the same time, so we can still be making progress on our end.
We'll go to the planning board on September 12th.
Also, that would actually be helpful, so if there's any major changes, you can reflect it, so because we kind of like to run in parallel with you guys.
If planning board changes anything, you'll see that, and if you change anything, they'll see that.
Right, so that usually works pretty well. Cool.
Yes, but the ledge tinkering is not us. In fact, the amount of ledge we have out
Figure out
there,
where it was coming from.
we have to blast. And one of the things that we don't want to do on this site is, the reason we designed the road that we did is to avoid the ledge, because we don't want to be out there blasting and throwing chunks of ledge into the wetlands and things like that.
Yeah.
Part of what's nice about the site is the ledge outcropping and the small pockets of well and stuff. It makes it beautiful. And we want to keep that charm as we move through this
The
process.
integrity of the property.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that, thank you. And thanks for clarifying that, because I could not figure, I thought in my car, I drove around trying to figure out where that was coming from. Couldn't find it.
I could hear it.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
I can hear it at my shop too, a bunch of stuff. You can hear it.
So, what
That's
other
why my
thing you
ears
did?
are bad.
Yeah.
Working in heavy equipment, they all my
Yeah.
life.
I understand my.
It's like you see me turn my head to listen.
I was just looking at the calendar, the 27th, I think you meet every 2 weeks, 27th is special town meeting. So I don't know if you'd have an alternate date or whatnot.
I don't think we got that far ahead.
I just think continuing this to the 13th would be a waste of everyone's time.
So should we just meet next Tuesday, and knowing that we're gonna have 2 Tuesdays in a row?
What's that?
Yeah, it's September 27th, the special town meeting. So do we meet the next Tuesday?
So you have a meeting on the
First week.
13th,
Of October?
The first week of October?
or the 20th of September, whatever works for you guys. What do you think works better, than October 4th or September 20th?
I think you
It's fine with us. Whatever the board of commission says. They want to do it.
October, but just wait till October 11th?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way the chips are falling.
October 11th.
I think before we start talking about dates, you had another question?
I did have one other question. Did you say this was going to be blacktop?
The intent is to pave it at this point.
Yes, and when I built my house, it was on the plan that I could pave it then too. I haven't done it yet.
Oh, so the 2018 order of conditions that you received said that you could pave the driveway. You just didn't pave it
I
yet.
did not pave it.
Okay. So we'd like to reinstate that as a feature of this.
It's Cape Cod berm running up both sides of it, and there is benefits also to pavement, because when you're plowing a gravel driveway, you're basically throwing the gravel into the wetlands. You know,
Right, but, and again, the concern for having pavement, and this is from another applicant who came before us, pavement in a wetland area doesn't allow the permeability for the water to go through and drain. So even crushed stone gets compacted after a while. I'm just concerned about the runoff. That would be something that could be talked about in the order of conditions.
That's what, yeah, even gravel, I mean.
It does get compacted.
It gets
almost like a
compacted, so.
Hard surface, right.
If you look at the TR55, like the numbers you use for cover, I think pavement is 98. If you're looking at a gravel road with the grass on the sides, the number is 89. And if you're looking at just a plain gravel road, I believe the numbers are either 94 or 96.
Okay.
So
can you explain that scale?
So that means that a 98 means that for the most part, 98% of the water is
impervious. It won't go.
It won't go through.
Right.
Or it's not 98%, but basically, if the water hits it, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
So when you look at gravel and then it gets compacted, you're looking, so it's slightly, if you're looking at like a 96 or a 94, most of the water is still not going down. It's still running off.
The lower the number, the more permeable the area. So just by comparison, like a lawn in very good condition is considered a 30, which means that when it rains, most of that water goes back into the ground. Rooftops, blacktop, things that water just don't get through, that's a 98. It's almost 100, meaning that it's almost completely impenetrable. The gravel that Stephanie's talking about gets to like a 94, 96, so it is, again, very, very, very impenetrable. Which actually is a benefit to us, because the difference now, for what we're designing, is the difference between that 94 number and that 98 number. There's not a huge vig there for us to overcome.
I just want to geek out a little bit, but we're talking about the scale. Are we talking about starting from 0, going up to, say, 100, it's a linear scale, or it's like an exponential scale?
They assign a curve number based on the standards in TR 55. I think it's pretty much a linear scale. That said, I don't know. I don't pretend to know off the top of my head exactly how they map it out.
Okay.
But it is all lab data tested, and it's what we are required to design based on.
Okay.
As Lee mentioned before, his previous order condition, which allowed his house, allowed him to pave the driveway, he didn't do that because after he built his house up there.
My wife wanted the kids to live.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, wait a minute, don't do anything more until we design something, a subdivision for the kid's house. And again, if it's gravel, there's no controls where it flows left or right off the road. With the pavement, we're calling out Cape Cod berm on both sides, so we do control where the water goes. So it does protect the wetlands better in that regard.
Any other questions?
You guys talked about Andrew's letter?
We haven't.
They talked about part of it. They talked about the Stream River, and it's way over to the west side.
So just, I'm sorry, let me just.
Oh, you guys already talked about, I'm watching on the.
Okay. Basically, it's way far away from us. I don't think it's a big deal, but I have a call into Andrew now to address it. And we will add something to the plan before the next time we get back here.
Yeah, and do you have an idea of what he means by include resource area delineation methodology? Is it just not a biologist report?
Yeah.
It is. It's the method, it's actually this report that came from Pine Brook about how they delineated the wetlands. To your point, is it based on soils? Is it based on vegetative cover? Things like that.
Right, and she doesn't specifically talk about the different flag numbers in there.
Right.
With that one pager that she does.
With that one pager, I don't believe she does, but when we have an update, we'll ask her to expand on it a little bit more.
And to put the flag numbers.
And to add flag numbers to it and things like that.
Okay. So these houses, are they fairly small? I'm just just curious about the square footage.
One was like 1,200.
Yeah, they're modest. They're very, very modest houses. In fact, this one here is intended to basically be like a barn-style house with a very quarters up above. And this one here is not much bigger, right? Probably 2,000 square foot footprint at the most. The lots, especially trying to keep things outside of buffer zone and dodging ledge and things like that, we're not gonna build a big mansion out there.
Mine's all one floor, so the foundation's laid out, but it's only like 2,200 square feet.
He answered my question.
Oh.
I was wondering how much the existing house was.
Yep.
23-ish or something like that. It's 23 something.
Any other questions? Open it up to the public.
I know we're the neighbors. We were just curious. Where are the other two houses gonna be?
Right there in the map.
May I?
Yeah, right. You would never probably.
Like I said, probably.
We're across from Valerie.
Right next to Mrs. Johnson.
Oh, yeah, I think I mentioned.
Yeah, we met before COVID.
Your kid takes out the rubbish for her every week.
You know, that ain't doing.
No, I help her out whenever I can.
I told him, I go, you gotta be nice.
We were worried that.
Right, well,
You'll make this up. No, that's how I was. That's how it was brought up.
Right.
It is beautiful.
It is nice, yes.
It's gorgeous. I'm sorry, thank you.
That's all right.
House is the existing house, right?
It's just those.
I'm sitting there.
It's just the three houses total.
That's all right.
That's correct.
So there's two new houses.
No, I went to the other guy
Two
that
new
bought.
houses. Right now, they're outside of buffer
I don't have a
zones.
problem.
If that ever changes.
Like I said,
He's a nice guy.
No.
He did a lot of work to the house.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
All right, let's bring it back to the board. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue until, what is it, September?
October 11th.
October 11th.
Sorry.
The notice of intent located at 140 Rockland Street.
That's second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Can I just ask how to coordinate this now? So we're gonna contact Brooklyn Road and ask her out and flag it. When that's done, we'll contact Tony, let her know it's done. And then I think some of you or all of you would like to come out and do a site walk. We certainly will try to coordinate it so that someone with strong points there, and if one or two of you can't make it, just let us know, you can go out there on your own.
Oh, and Brooke's gonna be there with her auger and mustard shot, so.
Yeah, we'll try to get, you know, the whole party out there. So we'll do that through Tony.
Please don't make coffee.
Could you send a letter like you did for the other project?
Yeah, to give you the okay. Yeah, and like I said before, and I'll say it on all the projects, is as long as, I think the property owner is given notice,
Yeah.
you know, when you're coming, so that, you know, someone, if there's a child at home, not in this case, but if there's a child at home and sees an adult walking in the yard, we know what's going on, okay?
Or dogs.
I know, I just had kids, so that's why she gets nervous.
Sure, understandable.
So we will be in touch with your office after we confirm when Brooke gets the flagging done, and we'll go from there, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next up, vote to appoint 2 members for the review checklist. And we talked about this at the last meeting to basically divvy up the administrative portion of the checklist for Tony to review and the plans and all the other stuff to, I think we said we wanted to have 1 voting member, 1 alternate member.
By default, that's me. But I volunteered at the last meeting anyway, and Lynn.
Do it.
no longer, that's right. That's right. So we have no other. No, I don't, they should appoint another one probably, but, but I think Lynn volunteered as the member.
The other alternate, has it been posted yet?
I believe at the last meeting, Lynn and.
Does somebody
Kathy
want to
both-
make a motion to
I'll make a
appoint
motion.
anybody, or?
I'll make a motion to nominate Lynn and Kathy as the 2 members for the review of the checklist.
I'll second that.
All in, oh, sorry.
All those in favor? Aye.
I will be voting for myself.
Good.
Do you guys already do the discussion on the NOI checklist?
Yes.
Okay. So next up is discussion on conservation supplies. Now, same thing at the last meeting, we talked about
Conservation
holding off on this until after you guys did the training with Andrew.
Right.
Was it last, or 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. Who was at that training?
Oh, no.
But we did ask Andrew, and he thinks it's a necessary thing that we should have, because we can't do our job without it, was his point, and that he doesn't have any restrictions for hand augering.
He might not, but DPU does.
Who does?
DPU.
We asked actually Rebecca at our site walk about it. And
She
she
works with
says,
DPU, or-
no, she says down to 18 inches.
That's not true.
That is not.
Okay.
Nope,
Well, I mean,
it's not true.
It's fine.
I did reach out to Mac, and I haven't really gone through the email, but for the amount of disturbance that we create, they said to defer to the engineers on the site, and I can send you the email from Mac. It's not like we're going in and we're laying pipes, we're going down 6 inches, maybe 10. The most that she went down on the Groveland Street site was 18 inches.
I've seen telephone lines 6 inches below
And
topsoil.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you've seen more than I could probably even imagine, but I'm just saying this is what was said to me.
Yep.
So based on that information, and, you know, Andrew said doesn't recall ever having, because most of the time when they're on the property, if there's major disturbances for water mains and lines, they're usually pretty clear. So that's how it left.
So if we're going through, like we do a site walk on Groveland Street and it's just trees, bushes and stuff. Does that seem fairly safe? Like if you're in the middle of that property and there's nothing around and it's never been disturbed?
Versus 4454 Linwood Street, when you went on that property and you went down the drive and you started to walk into the area, you could see the water main and you could see the sewer. Do you know what I'm saying? So, I mean...
Which, if you didn't know those manholes were there, would you think there was a utility in that easement?
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, you know, for the most part, when a person hires an engineering firm to come out and do the flagging, what is their protocol? That's what we should be following, is their protocol, because, I mean, they are the ones that are confirming. We're just asking them to confirm their flags.
What about just have the applicant the people that come to us.
To me, that's the way I would try it first and see how that works.
Yeah, and that's what we tried to do tonight, which hopefully Brooke Monroe will bring her Munsell chart and auger. However, if she doesn't, we're back at.
Or you're not gonna get anything done.
Correct.
Right.
So, and then we get into the conversation with the applicant, well, gee, this is taking too long, we've been before you several times. Well, it would be nice if everything came through the first time correctly, and then we wouldn't be having these conversations. So,
Can Andrew come out and do it? Couldn't we make a...
I don't think we can rely on
No,
them.
you rely on the applicant, they're the ones that have to prove that their delineation is correct. If we see, or we think that there are discrepancies, then they should.
Well,
we should
and
be
I
able
would
to
also
show them
ask the
there.
applicant.
perhaps maybe it should be added into our checklist then to say that, if we're going to require a site walk, we want your scientists to be there with their auger, with their Munsell chart, if that be the case. If it's a requirement and they don't do it, then, oops, sorry, we're going to delay it until you do.
And we can also ask the applicant if they've done the dig safe already, or ask them to do the dig safe if we feel the need. I mean, we can do that. That would be the answer, would it not?
I'm sorry, Richard.
No, because what about
We're
private?
not covered under their dig safe.
What?
We're not covered under their dig safe.
Well, what if stuff on their property? Dig safe doesn't have to mark, like, stuff on their property, correct? Like private
Stuff that
stuff?
they don't own or maintain.
Yeah, they don't have to.
Right, so if there's an electric line going up, just an illegal electric line, whatever it is, just someone put something there. Nobody has records of it.
What if you hit it?
And you hit it.
Yeah.
One,
What are you
if it's
gonna do?
electric and you're hitting it with a Munsell with a Dutch auger, guess what? You're gonna get zapped. I've seen it happen before with invisible dog fences.
You raise valid points, I
This is-
understand, but we have to find some way to,
I
so
think put
maybe.
it on the applicant.
All right, so
That's
if we put it on the
easiest way to do
applicant,
It's going to be a requirement, I think.
It
is
will
what-
end up being a
This is the thing that we're actually saying, that it's going to be a requirement for the applicant when we go for a sidewalk, that they have their botanist with an auger and a Munsell chart. Because, we went out to Zero Summer the first time.
Well, we're not
and they sent
requiring it though. If we want to do a site walk and.
Yeah, I
think
mean,
that's
some places we
something-
might not have to, I agree.
Correct.
But when we want to do a sidewalk, we're going to require it.
Yeah, at the discretion of the board.
Because it will save time. If-
Right.
I mean, we saw a couple of areas on Zero Summer that if they had had their botanist and an auger, we might have resolved it at that point in time. Instead, we had the engineer, who was very helpful, but it's not the same. So I think we have to be very clear about that.
And then obviously, leverage.
I just have a couple of comments. First and foremost, I think it's a huge liability. We should not be digging on anybody else's property. We are not trained, although the training that we had with Andrew was very informative. I don't think it should be on us to make those determinations based on that chart and the core sample that we're taking from the ground, that it should be on us to make that delineation or determination. Having that basic information makes it a little bit easier when it's presented to us. To have Andrew go out and remark every time we walk, we've got qualified people from SEA, and the last two applicants, we've requested Andrew, or are going to request Andrew to come out and recheck their work.
But we have also come into situations where we have had people come out separate and on other projects, 75 Dale Street, things had to be changed. We had situations with Zero Hancock.
Just other projects.
Same
Don't
thing.
bring up.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to bring up names, but other projects we have, and it's not a question that we're qualified scientists, we don't make that claim. What it is it's to be able to have us look at it and say, this looks suspicious, this needs to be, clearly, you can tell a hydric soil from a upland soil just by looking at the colors. We can't get into the details as far as the horizons go and what it consists of or what minerals are in there, but it's a guide. That's
But
all
I
it
think
is.
by having their scientists brought to the site, if we were required on a site walk,
If we do.
it takes us out of the liability of making that determination.
I agree.
Then I don't think any of that is needed for us to maintain or hold, but have them on the applicant to do that when it's necessary, not necessarily every site.
Exactly, when it's necessary. I mean, obviously, the last few applications that we've had have involved a lot of resource areas that, I mean, it was...
We've been receiving some really complicated sites right now.
And you know what? It's not going to get any better because we're not growing any more land in
Exactly,
Abington.
exactly.
So I understand the need for us to do our due diligence, but as a board, I want to make sure that we're keeping our liabilities to a minimum, putting those on the people that are
Duly noted.
looking to do these projects
Yep.
and do our due diligence properly.
And then if there's any discrepancies between what they come up with the auger, what they think the soil is and what we think the soil is, we can
Then get an additional.
Well, A, contact Andrew, see if he wants to come out, and B, do a peer review.
Absolutely.
But, because right now, the only recourse we have is, we have to do a peer review for every one of these, and we don't want to do that.
No, we don't. I mean, it's something that can be done, but we don't need to do it if in
No.
fact that they can have their scientists come out prepared ahead of time. But just with the last applicant that we had, not the last one, but the one before, I mean, you know, we were out there with the engineer, but there was no wetland scientist.
It would have been nice.
It
when
would
I
have
was
been real
out
nice,
there.
because they would have been able to answer our questions as we were asking it, because, you know, the engineer,
Yeah, he was only as helpful as he could be. He wasn't the wetland scientist. that we
Right. And
should have
and
had.
Andrew's point is sometimes actually, and this is something to consider, sometimes the wetlands line is actually in the wrong place in favor of the applicant.
Exactly.
And that you don't want to be replicating something that isn't a wetland.
Right.
Or you don't want to put replication in an area that's really not suited for it. You know, and having that clear delineation, you know, feeling confident that they've done a pretty decent job of it and that the soils look consistent. But you can still, they can make a mistake either way.
correct.
And, you know,
And he made that very
especially
clear.
if they're looking at only the vegetation, which is a lot of what we've been seeing lately, you know, and not the soil cores, which
Well,
helps.
and I think too, if we make this a requirement, I think you're gonna get, they're gonna do even more to make sure that what they provide us is accurate.
Is, yeah, accurate and quantitatively more than what we've been getting.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a wise thing if we make it mandatory and it's in there that they need to when we do this.
When we request it.
When we request it. You know, because like you said, if somebody's just building an addition on something in there that you can clearly see that it's not going to be an issue, that would be stupid, but, you know.
You never know.
Well, this is true. I don't, you're right. So other supplies, can we talk about some other supplies for conservation?
What do you got?
Well, I actually sent you an email. Did you read it?
No.
Okay.
Which one, about the,
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
no, about supplies or about the addition you want?
It's actually a pamphlet from
Yeah,
Mac.
that's, well, I don't consider that a supply.
Well, it is a supply because when I talked to Mac about it, they said many, many years ago,
We still have them in the office.
we have them to mail out to people and hand out to people. They used to mail them out. They actually used to provide documentation for people and mail them to them about, this is what you need to do. Because not just wetlands, but a lot of our problems seem to be coming from landscapers, have you noticed? Building walls in certain areas where they shouldn't be, and
What is the pamphlet? I'm sorry, let's
It was
go
a
back.
Actually, didn't they hand one out at
Is that
town
the
meeting?
one pager that you're talking
Yeah.
about, or
If
is
you went
that
to town
something
meeting, they
else?
she
handed
said
one
that
out.
we used to do
In a
mailings
bag.
years and years and years ago, and they're like cheapo to buy, and they're just, I mean, that can come out of our funds. It just, I mean, I just feel that if we're a little more proactive in notifying the people that before you do anything, check. So it just would save them a lot of aggravation and us too.
But yeah, they were, like I said, they were in the bags at town meeting. I know not everybody goes to town meeting, but
150 people have to go this time.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we can talk about that at another meeting so that everybody can see it.
Yeah.
Brockton's got a nice one too. The one you sent me was,
From Mac.
oh, it was from, okay, I thought it was from a different, from a
No,
town.
it was from Mac.
Okay,
Another town used it.
yep.
I like
And
the
they have it on their
idea.
website, so it's informative.
I think a lot of people, don't know they have wetlands and what to do about it.
Right.
And if there's any sort of educational outreach, so we're not having to slap, enforcement orders and going through this process, would be beneficial to the residents, the town. Education.
Any other supplies?
No.
Thanks, Alex.
I second Alex.
Wow.
Did somebody talk about getting a tape measure too? 350?
Yes, we did, we should have.
I thought you were to donate one.
I'll
gladly
donate
donate a
one.
couple.
I'll donate one.
A 300-foot, oh, thank you.
I'll save the townspeople a few pennies.
Well, thank you.
I'll give 100, 200, 300,
A 300
one of
foot.
each.
Best of the best.
You want a 400, 500?
No, I want, well, we have to measure 200 feet out for protection area for perennials, so you tell me.
Get a couple of
What do you think?
rangefinders.
Want a laser one too?
Whatever you
I'll
want.
borrow that.
Ooh. That'd be cool. Lasers.
All right, any further discussion on supplies? All right, building permits and site visits. One permit came in. They're gonna have to come in for an RDA. Where does that stand?
What was the address
We
on
have a
that?
special meeting on the 6th. You guys already talked about that? What was the address? 160
96.
Old Farm Road. So they came
What
in
is it?
for
I'm sorry, what was the address?
96 Old Farm Road. They came in, they did an electronic permit last week. And there's wetlands over there. I think they're within the buffer. So I told them to come in for an RDA. You've been talking to him? So,
I guess. He asked if we could have a special meeting for him on the 6th. That is the following Tuesday. He got all his paperwork into me to post ahead on the 30th, so the next meeting, which would be the next date, would be the 6th.
Is this something critical that he's already got lined up with
He's already
contractors?
got, the
What is it
line
that-
of the pool company.
Oh, it's a pool?
It's an
In-ground?
in-ground pool.
So has he submitted the new RDA?
I received one copy of it, so he's gonna come back before. And other than that, he submitted plans that he got from the pool company and that's it. So I don't really know. I got it today this afternoon.
6:30 on the 6th?
Yeah.
So that's two meetings? We don't have a meeting on the 6th.
No, we haven't.
He's asking for a special one like we did one
like
time
we
for the
did
pool
on-
people.
Realize that it's the day after Labor Day? I'm on vacation, I don't know if you got, who's,
I don't think.
I'm around.
I'm here.
you got three.
So when is the pool supposed to be installed? Because if we,
Did he not know that he had wetlands there, and he just
He
kind
didn't
of?
know.
So,
The neighbor which is closer to the wetlands also has a pool, so they,
I mean, if we,
I don't want to.
we've
he's,
done it in the past.
He can't,
Yeah.
he can't do it on the 27th, or when our next meeting is? Why can't we do it then?
We're not having a meeting on the 27th because of the town meeting.
Town meeting.
Oh, that's right, or we'll do a little one, why don't we do a little one before town meeting? Like, do one at, town meetings at 7, a lot of boards meet at like 6:30 to take care of stuff. That would be a lot better, right?
But I think she said that he already has people lined up.
No, the 27th, oh, not the 27th, I meant, oh, our next meeting is,
The 13th.
supposed to be, our next meeting is now the 13th.
oh, okay, I'm confused, I'm
So
sorry.
he wants a special meeting for the 6th, because we made the exception for that other
Well, that was,
applicant, but that was totally different because, all right.
Well,
it's whatever you guys want to
we
do.
first have to figure out, I mean, if we say yes, we make a determination that they have to file an NOI, then even if they've got people lined up,
It's going to delay them, because they'll have to.
or do people installing pools in November?
No, probably not.
I mean,
Gunning goes it can go in the end of the fall. Gunning can.
yeah,
And-
so I'm just wondering, like,
That's got nothing,
Do we know it's
all we're
gonna-
talking about is the RDA, when he wants to put the pool in, has nothing to do with us.
Well, what if
but-
he has to file an NOI? He can't put the
Then
pool
that
in.
changes the schedule.
Yeah,
But he's gotta come in for an RDA first.
Yeah.
Then they make the determination.
I'm just wondering, is it worth having a special meeting?
We've done it
For
for other
that.
people for the same exact thing.
Yeah, but they had the people already lined up and they were coming, and this is the
Which
case
same
here.
exact thing.
All right.
Well,
And
then-
theirs was an above ground. this
Then
is
how many
under.
people can we get to go to the sidewalk? Right, that,
We have to go look at,
Well, the site,
We're gonna have the meeting first before we can have the sidewalk.
I can't do it.
what day next week works for a sidewalk?
Calendar.
probably the end of
I don't wanna do Friday. Not before a long weekend.
Oh, yeah. Calendar.
I can do,
What week you
It's for next week, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tuesday,
7 days next week, sorry.
Tuesday, Wednesday? No? All
Not for
right.
me, I can do Thursday.
All right, Thursday, September 1st?
I'm good with that.
I think I'm okay with that.
What time?
5?
Do 5.
Okay,
That's 96.
Old Farm Road,
Yep.
it's close.
September 1st at 5?
Yep.
Okay.
I think you guys already discussed the site visit to Groveland Street when that came before us. I think that was it for site visits.
All right, they're gonna wait on that, so they get all the other stuff there.
You don't have them, right? Well, they weren't in my packet. Maybe since I show up on time.
No.
That's all, I still saw those emails. Tell me about it.
You should put your mic
It's very
back
long.
on.
Almost done.
Sit next to it. It's a lot of heat generated.
Anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes for August 9th?
I just have one little thing about the minutes. In the enforcement order, discussion and possible vote, another little picky thing, it says Ms. Creighton said that some of the buffer zone needs to be replicated. It was all, and I
No.
also brought that
No,
up
she didn't
too.
say all. She did say some.
Okay, I said all.
Because it was open-ended, because the performance standards aren't part of the NOI, but because you said where it's an enforcement order,
Enforcement
That
order
doesn't- that doesn't
states,
matter.
it's that, it's an
Yeah.
original. So I
Yeah.
did say
You said
that,
it, yeah.
so can you add that statement, what I said, instead? Or in addition, sorry. Instead of fixing that, which is wrong about.
I think that was part of the list of things I sent to Nicole as far as.
Yeah, she mentioned it, and she agreed to do the buffer zone today.
Hmm? Yeah. She'll make the changes and we can vote on this at the next meeting. All right, any correspondence? All right, so want to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second that.
Oh, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.